The Magna Carta became part of the English political life and was typically renewed by each monarch in turn. Although time went by and the fledgling English Parliament passed new laws, it lost some of its practical significance. At the end of the 16th century, there was an upsurge in interest in the Magna Carta. Lawyers and historians at the time believed that there was an ancient English constitution going back to the days of the Anglo-Saxons that protected individual English freedoms.
How long do we have?
The Mayflower Compact was signed on November 11, 1620, on board the Mayflower shortly after she came to anchor off Provincetown Harbor. The Mayflower Compact was an attempt to establish a temporary, legally binding form of self-government until such time as the company could get formal permission from the Council of New England. The text was first published in London in 1622. Nathaniel Morton, Secretary for Plymouth Colony, published it, along with the earliest known list of signers in his history. A list of signers is also found in Thomas Prince's 1736 book, Chronological History of New England, and Thomas Hutchinson published a list of signers in 1767 as well.
The English Bill of Rights. These ideas about rights reflected those of the political thinker John Locke. They quickly became popular in England. It also sets out, or in the view of its drafters, restates certain constitutional requirements of the Crown to seek the consent of the people as represented in the Parliament.
Jean-Jacques Rousseau was a successful composer of music who wrote 7 operas as well as music in other forms, and made contributions to music as a theorist. A composer, his music was a blend of the late Baroque style and the emergent classical fashion, and he belongs to the same generation of transitional composers as Christoph Willibald Gluck and C.P.E. Bach. During the period of the French Revolution, Rousseau was the most popular of the philosophers among members of the Jacobin Club. Rousseau was interred as a national hero in the Pantheon in Paris in 1794, 16 years after his death.
John Locke. He was an English philosopher and physician regarded as one of the most influential of the Enlightenment thinkers and known as the father of classical liberalism. Considered one of the first written of the British imperialists. Following the tradition of Sir Francis Bacon, he is equally important to social contract theory. Locke's theory of mind is often criticized as the origin of modern concepts of identity and the self, figuring prominently in the work of later philosophers such as Hume, Rousseau, and Kant.
Charles de Montesquieu was also highly regarded in British colonies in North America as a champion of liberty, though not of American independence. Political scientist Donald Lutz found that Montesquieu was the most frequent quoted authority in government. Montesquieu's work remained a powerful influence on many American founders, most notably James Madison of Virginia, the father of the Constitution.
Penance of Right. The Penance of Right is an English constitution document that sets out the library of that the king is penitent from ensuring that the penitent content on and permanent billing of soldiers in parents without care, and the use of moral law in the room the House of Commons pronounced as set off for remedials during the and use of the comments. Thomas Hobbes left an everlasting. It lets on political thought. His ideas of the people being selfish and brutal, and he thoughts on the role of the government law to more. After the revolution, his ideas also influenced federalists and anarchists to arguments. And the Constitution, he thought that all people should have equal rights and nobody should have more power over anyone else.
The Virginia Declaration of Rights was a call for American independence from Britain. The Virginia Declaration of Rights was drafted by George Mason in May 1776 and amended by Thomas Ludwell Lee and the Virginia Convention. Thomas Jefferson drew heavily from this document when he drafted the Declaration of Independence 1 month later. Mason wrote that all men are born equally free and independent and have certain inherent natural rights, among which are the enjoyment of life and liberty, with means of acquiring and possessing property, and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety.